All right, final weigh-in.
I am about to go into a meeting, but I will tell you after that is done exactly what I've done for the past month in order to lose a decent amount of weight while eating progressively more cookies each day, starting with 1 cookie on day 1 and ending with 16 cookies on day 31. Hi, I'm Jonny Reps. You may know me from such films as the whiskey diet, the pizza diet, and well, that's probably it. So today I bring to you a new dietary endeavor / experiment. I call this one the cookie diet. And how this works is, for the month of March, I decided to eat cookies every single day and see if I can lose weight while doing that. And I wanted to give myself an extra layer of difficulty, so instead of just eating some cookies or a predetermined amount of cookies, I decided I was going to eat 1 cookie on the first day, and then 1 cookie on the second day, and then 2 cookies on the third day, and then 2 cookies on the fourth day, and then 3 cookies on the 5th day, etc. So every 2 days, essentially, I was adding 1 additional cookie. By the last day of the month, I ate 16 cookies yesterday, and I will tell you that I am kind of sick of cookies at this point. But on top of this, to make it even harder, I decided that I was going to eat these cookies right before I went to bed. And the reason why I decided to do this was because I kind of wanted to use this as an opportunity to also look at the myth of eating carbs late in the day, if this impacts weight loss, and also if eating a lot of food or a lot of calories before bed, if this would impact weight loss either. So if you're interested in any of these topics, keep watching this video and I'm going to go over everything that I did and everything that happened. Why am I doing this? Well, I just told you why. But more importantly, what brought me to decide to do this? I think there's a lot of myths in the fitness industry that need to be kind of attacked, and there's already, realistically, there's a lot of practical evidence to tell you why timing of your eating really doesn't have much of an impact on fat loss or weight loss. I know I'm burying the lead out of the gate here, but one of the things that it attracts people to have a bunch of anecdotal evidence or to have a good story. So hopefully this is a good story. Let's talk about it. My starting weight was 195.4 pounds. I weighed myself in on March 1st, and I wanted to note that that was quite a low weigh-in for how I had been weighing at the time. Like, I was not in a calorie deficit for February. I was not trying to lose weight during February. But I think March 1st, that weigh-in on March 1st was possibly my lowest weight for the entirety of February into March. So I knew I was kind of like, I was on a down day, and if you know anything about weight fluctuations, you can read my article on weight fluctuations on my website. I actually have 2 articles. I'll link them in the description. I started on kind of a low day on my weight fluctuation, so I knew my numbers wouldn't really look, at the end of the month, my amount of weight loss might not look fantastic at the end of the month, but I was like, okay, this is my starting point. I want to be as honest as possible about it. Second of all, during this month, what did I do in terms of did I do a bunch of extra exercise? Did I decide to was I tracking food? Was I tracking calories? Yeah, let's talk about that. So I have been tracking calories fairly consistently for at least 7 years now. It might be 8 because I don't remember if I started in 2014 or 2015. And I tracked my calories consistently. I gave myself a calorie goal and I gave myself a weight loss goal. In order to calculate this calorie goal based on the amount of weight I wanted to lose during the month of March, I used the National Institute of Health Body Weight Planner. You can Google that. I'll also drop the link for that below in the description. Essentially, this number spit out something in the realm of 26 something calories should be my daily intake if I want to lose 6 pounds during the month of March, which was what I set my goal at, was 6 pounds from 195.4. Down 6 pounds from there would be about 189.4 would be my goal. So that's kind of a brief overview of how I did it. Now, what did I do during the month? I consumed a normal diet. I tried to get as much protein as I could. While I set my protein goal at around 200 grams daily, but I knew as the month progressed, my work was going to be cut out for me, and it was going to get harder and harder and harder because more of my diet was coming from cookies, and more of my diet was going to be in the evening of each day. Here's some quick statistics. 1 Oreo has 55 calories in Canada. Actually, did you know that Canadian Oreos have less calories than American Oreos? American Oreos have 70 calories, whereas Canadian Oreos have 55 calories. I'm in Canada, so I'm using the Canadian Oreos. By the way, if I didn't mention it, the type of cookie I would decide to eat every day was Oreos because they are cheap. And on the first day, I had a bunch of Oreos laying around in the house because we got like a big pack from Costco because my wife likes them. So Oreos it is. 55 calories per Oreo. There's 4 2/3 grams of sugar in each Oreo, there's 2 1/3 grams of fat, and there's 1/3 grams of protein. So this means that by the last day of the month, when I ate 16 cookies, I was actually consuming 75 grams of sugar just from Oreos on that last day. So you would think consuming such a massive amount of sugar at the end of your day might have some negative downstream effects. We'll talk about that in a second. Throughout the month total, I ate 256 Oreos total. I had 14,080 calories from Oreos, okay? Now in terms of the amount of calories that I logged total for the month, I logged 82,384 calories for the total month, which gives me an average calorie intake of 2657. Now, I know there's some days where I wasn't perfect on my calorie tracking, so the number was probably a little bit higher than that, but we can use this number. I've mentioned this in my other videos. I mentioned this in my pizza diet video. I mentioned this in my whiskey diet video. If you take your amount of weight loss throughout a month and then you take your amount of calories logged, you can figure out what your maintenance calories are based off of that. Your maintenance calories are the amount of calories you require to maintain your current body weight. So for example, I didn't tell you how much weight I lost yet because I'm saving that for later in the video, but I ate 2,656 calories that I logged. I can calculate because 3,500 calories of deficit equals about 1 pound of weight loss. So I can calculate based off of this how many calories I require to maintain my body weight based on what I logged. The good thing about this is, see, I know my logging was a bit inaccurate, but as long as I maintain the same level of inaccuracy going forward, this number is going to be very effective to sticking to continue the same rate of weight loss because it's what I'm tracking and it's percentage and it's proportional. It's not actually caring about the number of calories I'm eating, it's just caring that I'm consistently tracking to the same degree of accuracy. Based off of this, I want to also lay out my workouts. I was doing a strongman workout, strongman style training. I was actually doing the free strongman template from Starting Strongman. You can go to their website and you can download it for free. It was an okay template. It wasn't the best workout program I've ever done. It wasn't the worst workout program I've ever done. But I think it was pretty decent for getting introduced into having like a strongman style of training, but it still had a lot of like what I would describe as like bodybuilding and powerlifting stuff on it as well. And you don't need too much specialized equipment, so that was cool. So that was my workout. It was 4 days a week, 2 days upper, 2 days lower. I was doing stuff like squats, overhead presses, push presses, log presses, sled pushes, lots of compound stuff, and then also some isolation stuff like curls, front raise, well, 3-way shoulder raises, tricep push downs, and stuff like that, lunges, so on and so forth. And that was a 4-day work per week program. For my general physical activity, I was doing a step count goal, and I set my step goal at 7,500 steps a day. The reason why I set it like this and not like some crazy number is because I know that this is a realistic number for me to hit. The actual number of steps I hit for the month was a little over 250,000, which averaged a little over 8,000 steps per day. And then finally, the final component was for cardio. I was basically just running what's called the beep test, a couple, like 1 to 2 times per week, which is, it's a quick test that essentially tests your cardiorespiratory fitness. You can do it outside, you can do it on the treadmill. You can, if you need to know what the beep test is, I'll also drop that in the links below. And there's actually an app you can use to do it. So before I get into my final results, I wanted to note a few things. The weight of an Oreo is 11 1/3 grams. So one Oreo weighs 11 1/3 grams. This means that on the last day, yesterday when I ate 16 Oreos, I was actually consuming 181 1/3 grams of Oreos, like in terms of weight, which is 0.4 pounds. That's almost half a pound of Oreos that I ate immediately before bed. In addition to this, I drank 16 ounces of water. So essentially, I was between the water and the Oreos, I had about 1.5 pounds of food and liquid mass that I ate right before bed. This is important because this is going to impact my weight the next morning. Notice I didn't say this is going to impact fat loss, but when you weigh yourself in the morning, your weight is impacted by if you eat closer to bed. It's impacted by if you eat a lot of carbohydrates close to bed. This is not fat loss. This is essentially just the food mass and the water weight that you are holding in your body impacts the next morning's weigh-in in that immediate aftermath. If I were to eat if I were to weigh myself like eat a bunch of Oreos this whole month and then weigh myself tomorrow, I can almost guarantee my weight is going to be down significantly tomorrow because I am not eating a bunch of food immediately before bed. Now, this is not to say that eating food before bed is going to impact your fat loss, because if we take this out long term enough, it has no impact essentially on the amount of fat you lose. It is literally just the food volume and the water in your stomach and the water weight throughout your body that you have not digested and you have not flushed out yet by the next morning. Because it's literally like 8-9 hours later that I'm doing my weigh-in, and that stuff has not worked its way through my system yet. So my thought is that this is one of the areas where the myth of you can't eat late in the day in order to lose weight loss comes from, because people would probably eat a lot or a good amount of food before bed and then weigh themselves the next morning and see their weight go up. And they would see that this would happen consistently if they eat late at night. Their weight would go up. And they would think that this is impacting my weight loss. In reality, it's not. It's making your weight go up, a short-term fluctuation, but long-term, it's not. If you are keeping your calories the same, it is not increasing your calorie intake, and we know that calorie intake is what equates to weight loss. Next point, you see regular weight fluctuations anyway. A lot of times what will happen is, even if you aren't eating late at night, your body may just hold on to water, it may just not be completed digesting. You weigh yourself the next morning and you'll see your weight might go up. It makes consistency harder when it just mentally messes with you a little bit. I would say the last point for one of my thoughts for why this myth occurs is because many times people do not account for those calories that they're eating later at night. And it's not because of the timing of the calories that's the problem, it's because they are eating extra calories. When I said my calorie goal was between like 26 and 2,700 calories, I included the Oreos in those calories. I included the cookies I was eating before bed in those calories. If you want to be accurate, if you want to be precise on your calorie goal, you need to include everything you're eating in there. Results. Actually, let's throw in the video of me scaling.
189.8.
I weighed in at 195.4 pounds on day one. And my final weigh-in was 189.8 pounds for a total weight loss of 5.6 pounds. Now, as I said earlier, we can take this number and we can multiply it by 3,500, right? So 3,500, 5.6 equals 19,600. I had a calorie deficit for the whole month of roughly 19,600. Now, we divide this by 31 because there were 31 days in March. This gives me 632 calories was my average daily deficit. Now we add this number, 632, to my average number of calories that I tracked for the month, which was 2,657, and that gives me 3,289 calories. So this number, 3,289, is what my maintenance calories are. So that's about what I would have needed to eat to maintain my body weight. Now, you might be asking, if you watched my whiskey video and if you've watched my pizza video, my calculated calorie maintenance was much, much higher on those videos. I believe on one of them it was about 3,700. Why is this? Well, you see, there's a variety of reasons. When I mentioned in the beginning, my weigh-in on day one was low, probably because I didn't eat a lot in the evening, so my weight fluctuations were on the side of a low day on the first day I weighed in, right? On the last day that I weighed in, which was today, my weight fluctuations were probably on the high end because of the fact that I ate a poop ton of food. I ate half a pound of Oreos and like a whole pound of water in my stomach. So my weight fluctuations were all the things that would negatively impact weight fluctuations were high at the end of the month, and all the things that would make weight fluctuations be down were happening at the beginning of the month. So this is why probably my maintenance calories, quote unquote, are calculated now as being lower than they previously were, is because of that. Versus with the pizza diet and the whiskey diet, I was eating at a more balanced meal time. I wasn't eating a bunch of calories at the end of the day. Final thoughts. Would I recommend this diet for the average person? Of course not. I would not recommend that you eat cookies, a lot of 16 cookies every day, because at the end of the day, like 16 cookies, we're talking about 55 calories per cookie. That's 880 calories worth of Oreos. And it's also 75 grams of sugar. The average American eats about 80 grams of sugar a day, but that is far from the healthy norm, or what the healthy norm should be. 880 calories of cookies a day is not a good idea. I'd say a good rule of thumb is junk foods and stuff that's high in sugar, like cookies and stuff, should account for no more than 20% of your calories for the day. So if my calories were about 2,657 for the month, we would multiply that by 0.2 to get 20%. No more than about 531 calories per day should be coming from junk food. So the main reason why I wouldn't recommend this is just because it's an excessive amount of sugar by the time you get to the end. It's probably more than what is the healthy range. It's recommended that sugar should be no more than, at the absolute most, added sugars we're talking about, so not fruits and vegetables, added sugars should be at the absolute most no more than 10% of your daily calories. So doing this with the cookie diet is obviously, like, just from those cookies, it's putting me really close to, or maybe even above, that range, and it's very close to the unhealthily high level of sugar intake that the average American consumes. So what are the key takeaways here? One, calories are king. If you're going to lose weight, whether you're tracking or not tracking, whether you're keto, vegan, vegetarian, Atkins, high carb, low carb, balanced, whatever, calorie deficit is what creates that fat loss long term. Number two, meal timing is going to impact your weight the next morning, simply due to the fact that you will have more food volume and more water weight in your body, but it's not going to really impact long-term fat loss too much. I have a feeling that if we would take this experiment out longer, if I compared it to just eating a normally timed diet, I would probably see equal levels of fat loss on both. And number three is you can and should incorporate treat foods into your diet, because the longer you go without them, the more likely you are to binge. Now that I've been eating cookies every single day, I am sick of cookies, and I'm actually really excited for the next phase of my diet, the next phase of what I'm doing, which I don't know if I'm gonna make a video about it next month, but if you wanna see a video about what I'm doing in April, leave me a comment below. I'm working my way down to 181-ish pounds for a strongman competition in August. So if you wanna hear more about that, or you wanna see what I'm doing in April for my nutrition, leave me a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, if you get good value out of this, subscribe to me and check out my previous stuff. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Jonny Reps. Have a strong day.